This is Tell Me What to Read, powered by Booktopia. I'm Nick Wasiliev, and today we're sitting down for a very special discussion around all things finance. Today, Molly Benjamin from Lady Finance Club sits down with the one and only Simran Kaur to discuss her brand new book, Girls That Invest, an absolute must for fans of getting into finance. Check the show notes below for timestamps for the interview, and if you're enjoying this interview, you can drop us a review on Apple Podcasts, a like on Spotify, and let us know what you think. Now over to our conversation between Ladies Finance Club and Girls That Invest. It's Molly Benjamin and Simran Kaur.
All right. Hi, I'm Molly from Ladies Finance Club. We're a community all about helping women take control of their financial futures and get money savvy. We run courses, events, and based in Australia and the UK. And I'm super excited because I'm doing this interview today with the amazing Simran.
Hi, Molly. How are you?
Yeah, great. Thank you.
I am very excited for our chat today because I feel like we have talked a lot on Instagram and DMs and kind of the social media space, but to finally see someone and chat with them, it's like a whole new experience.
I know. And you guys have just been absolutely, I know I'm always sliding into your DMs, but you guys are absolutely killing it at the moment. I know you've just brought out a book. So I guess before we get into some questions, how is it all going? How's all that journey been?
It is going really crazily, I guess. It's just been so insane. I mean, you've written a book as well, and I'm sure we'll get into it. So you know all about just all the behind the scenes. I don't think I really knew what went into writing a book when I joined. It's my first book. So it's been going really well, but there's just been so many learnings. It's been really fun. But I think the best part, the part that nothing compares to, is just seeing someone have it in their hand and then tag you in a story. It's just wow, you have the book, really?
Yeah, my sister bought out a book last year, and again, it's so nice to hear all the stories and how much it helps people. So yeah, no, congratulations. It just looks like, I know there must have been so much work that went into it, but it just absolutely, from the outside, it looks like you're absolutely killing it. And I know whenever anyone says that to me, I'm like, oh, you don't know the work and the hours, but yeah, massive congrats.
Oh my God. Yeah, the whole, oh my God, it looks like you're killing it. Totally relate, because people will be like, wow, you were in Vogue, or you had a TED talk, or you've done this and that, you've been here and there. And it's yes, but I don't feel like I'm killing it. But I guess imposter syndrome, we could probably get into that later.
So true. So I'll let's kick off. So maybe I'll just kind of ask you this one first. So what would you say your top tips for investing are? I know you must have heaps, but kind of what are some of your top ones for new people looking to get started?
It's so funny because when we started investing, so a little bit of background for those that don't know, Sonia and I, my best friend and co-host, we started Girls That Invest as a podcast, and it initially came from when we were younger. There was so many misconceptions that we had and so many reasons why we weren't investing in the stock market. And I would say my top tips almost come from the misconceptions that I had. So things like, don't assume that investing is just for wealthy people. That's tip number one. That was something that I did for a very long time. I thought I was like, I'm a student at university. There's no point of me investing. The second reason that I wasn't investing is I thought you just need to be so smart. You need to, be spending hours and hours and hours in front of a computer and have 5 different screens.
Yeah. Wolf of Wall Street style.
Yeah, Wolf of Wall Street style. Funnily enough, I watched that movie thinking maybe I'll learn a few things, and it just didn't make any sense. Turns out they were, pumping and dumping penny stocks, which we do break down in the book for those that actually just want to understand what it means.
Yeah.
But that was tip number 2. Do not be overwhelmed. It's not that hard. And then tip number 3, the third thing that's really helped me understanding how to invest is more of a proactive tip. And it comes around the idea of you don't have to pick and choose winning stocks. Investing is not trying to find winners. It is that slow and steady game. And that changed my life.
Yeah, totally. And I'm with you there on the stock picking. I'm currently single, and I went on a date recently with this guy, and let's call him Craig. I don't think his name was, I actually can't remember his name, but let's call him Craig.
It's not worth remembering.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. No, but I a few drinks in, I was kind of like, I always drop the line. I'm like, so do you invest, Craig? And he was like, oh no, invested once, lost all my money. And I was like, did you happen to invest all your money into one company? He's like, yeah. I'm like, did the company kind of go bust or go down? He's like, yeah, massively. I lost all my money. I said, oh, how did you find out about that original company? And he's like, oh, my mate's mate worked in finance and told me about it. And I'm like, don't be a Craig. And I'm like, and this is the thing. So many people think when you get started investing, you're going to have to pick stocks or, listen to Uncle Terry's barbecue tips. Top stock tips. But yeah, that's the thing. That was one of the biggest misconceptions I had, and going, oh, okay. So actually learning about index funds and ETFs and, spreading your money across hundreds or thousands of different companies, not just investing it all in one. So that diversification piece, and that the stats are out there that show like it is, even the experts really struggle to pick the stocks. So, people who are brand new into the game, we really should not be doing that. And I know for another one for me, my kind of like a top tip I have is just kind of like, just get started, like dip your toes in the water. Like there's so many, investing has never been more accessible before. There's so many apps out there. There's micro investing apps. And, I think, as you said, there's that misconception that you're going to have to, spend thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of dollars if you want to get started investing. But, with a lot of those apps out there at the moment, you can start with a couple of dollars, $50, you can round up your coffees and put that money into an investment on micro investing apps. So it's really easy, I think, to get, overwhelmed or, that, I'm not smart enough. I'm not good at math. It's a bad time in the economy. We're really good at coming up with excuses why we shouldn't, but actually just getting, a taster, dipping your toe in the water is a great place to start.
Oh, 100%. Like there's never a good place to start. That's so true. Because do you remember in March 2020 when the stock market first had its dip, everyone was so scared. They were so worried. And I remember having a friend that was like, you know what? I want to wait till it drops a little bit more and then I'll invest. And I was like, I don't know if we'll work out when the bottom is. Like maybe you should put in a little bit every month and kind of see how it goes. And then the stock market, as we know, rallied, which means it just went up so high. And then she was like, oh, it's up too much. Now I can't invest. And now that it's come back down, and now she's too, bless her soul. I think it's like you just will never find the best time to start. And it's been 2 years, and this up and down is going to continue. So I love that. I love the just get started aspect. It does feel a little bit harsh, but like it comes from a good place, because otherwise we see what happens when we just keep putting it off.
Yeah. And I think you just almost gave a great definition there of dollar cost averaging. So, actually, had she just put in, a bit of money 1 month, a bit of money the next month, a bit of money the month after that, if it gone up, gone down, eventually it is what you call dollar cost averaging, because your money does average out over time. But she would have got those highs. Yes, she would have got some lows. But when I learned about dollar cost averaging, I was like, well, this makes sense.
It does make sense. And it's just so simple, but, I guess we'll talk a little bit more about it. One of the things I wanted to ask you personally was, you've also got a book coming out. This is a conversation not just about Girls That Invest, but also Ladies Finance Club. What are you hoping that your readers would get from, your book, and what can we kind of expect?
Yeah, so I know you ladies really focus on investing. But I think for this book, this is really about kind of all personal finance. So I went out and spoke to a range of different women, because massive confession, I was useless with money, hopeless with money. I was doing all the things. I was living paycheck to paycheck. I had no emergency fund. I wasn't investing. My super, like my retirement pension, I was like, what is that? Do I need to take notice of it? That's so far away. I'm trying to tackle Tinder, not my friggin' retirement. So I was just like a financial mess. And so what, this book is a kind of a fun way to kind of, get your shit together with money, really. And, so that's what I've done. I've kind of interviewed all those kind of women who I love in those different spaces, whether it's around mindset, about budgeting and saving, about getting your super sorted. And then we even go into, I think, when it comes to women and money, we face so many unique challenges that sometimes guys just don't, or yes, it is changing, but predominantly it's still women who face these challenges. So, we also go into kind of like, salary negotiation, what is actually the separation process? How do we teach our kids about money? How do we make sure that, when we take mat leave, we are getting, our retirement is not going to be affected by that. Hoping that this book might be like a fun wake-up call that kind of makes women go, okay, it's actually not as hard as it seems, and I'm gonna get started. And it's really designed as well to be done with girlfriends. So it's kind of like, this isn't something you have to do by yourself. So get your gal pal, do a chapter a month or whatever works for you, and create your own ladies finance club. And
I love that. Oh, sorry.
No, you're right. And I was going to say, and what about your book? Like, obviously it is just like investing, but like, tell me, like, what are you hoping readers are going to get from it?
I just want to take a moment to say I love the idea of like doing with your gal pals and like having your own ladies finance club. That is so beautiful. It sounds like your book is like, let's just sort out your life, but fun. And it's amazing because we do need those foundations before you do start investing in the stock market. And I guess that's kind of where we wanted to really hone in, because as much as, you can save and you can organize your life, once you've got that part sorted, we see a lot of people go, hey, Sim, like I have done XYZ, but I'm just so scared about taking that next step. And in your journey to being financially free, and financially free to me means, having a life where you're choosing what you want to do, you're calling the shots, you're working because you want to, not because you have to, you're with your partner because you want to be with them, not because you feel obliged to, or you're stuck, you don't have quote unquote taxi money. These are situations that I think affect everyone, but predominantly and disproportionately women, people of color, minorities. And so if we can have access to more wealth, we're all going to be able to live a more financially free and authentic life. And so I just want everyone to not necessarily invest in the stock market, but I want everyone to be able to know how to do it if and when they decide that that's something that they're interested in. And so our book really just breaks down, the idea behind the stock market, how it works. I'm such a history buff, so like explaining like what even is Wall Street, what even is a hedge fund, like why do these things even matter, and then what investing strategies work and don't work based off research and data, so that people like Craig don't end up, getting a hot tip from their friends and going, wow, I lost all my money, because that's not fun for anyone.
No. And so for you, what kind of prompted the book? Obviously, the podcast has been like international success. But what was kind of like the prompt for the book?
Thank you. I guess with the podcast and probably what you've noticed as well is, we both, Ladies Finance Club and Girls That Invest, we put out a lot of resources, so many free resources on our socials and blog posts and newsletters. But at the end of the day, it's actually really hard to sit down and go through everything and then decide how to do things or which order to do them. So you might go, okay, I really care about ethical investing, but to understand ethical investing, you'll find like 5 other tabs of, information that you're like, wait, what does that mean? Well, what does that mean? You just end up going down a rabbit hole. And we just thought, wouldn't it be great if there was just some way for it all to be put together in a way that's accessible? Because up to that point, we've just been recommending lots of old school sort of OG investing books, like The Intelligent Investor, such a great book. But if you have read it, I am so sorry, because it is so big. It is so aggressively overwhelming, and I haven't met a lot of people that have finished it. Even though it's a great book, the teachings are great, for the average beginner, just not what you need. So we thought, well, let's just ease in investing education. Do you feel like yours is the same, kind of just putting it all into one space?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, you can spend hours trolling the internet, days and days doing all the reading. So we just wanted to be like, this is some really good stuff that really helps like me and our Ladies Finance Club members. So here it is in one place for you. And yeah, so, and I think, as you said, like, I always say the world of finance can be male, pale, stale, blue, and so jargony. And I'm like, why all the jargon? I don't understand. And I remember in London, I was at Financial Times on a panel, and this guy was talking, and I literally was like, I have no idea what he's talking about. Like, I actually don't know. And I had to stop and say, and the audience looked pretty blank as well. So I just had to be like, I'm sorry, what does that mean? Like, can you like explain that to me? Because I don't actually know. No. So no, I'm super excited to get a copy of your book and have a read, because there's still, money and investing. I think it's such a journey, and, money, your relationship with money is one of the longest relationships you'll have. So I'm constantly learning so much all the time about this world. And I love it, because it's exciting. It's empowering. I keep saying that wrong. Empowering. So yeah, absolutely. And, what was the experience like going from, podcast to book? Was it, easy? Did you find it challenging?
That's a great question. I found it really, funnily enough, I found it easier than I expected it to be, because if anyone listening is a talker, if anyone listening is someone that at school used to get told off for distracting others, then you will have realized that you're probably a really good storyteller, because you might not have spent a lot of time, learning those fractions or learning, World War I, but you definitely learned how to communicate efficiently. So I don't take those bad report cards so terribly anymore. But what I found is that, with podcasting, you're trying to tell a story and you're trying to explain these kind of boring concepts, because let's be honest, like what an investing ratio is, what a PE ratio is, that's not necessarily the most exciting thing in the world. But if you have like impact and meaning behind it, and there's some sort of, takeaway that not only makes you laugh, but makes you understand it better, I think that really helps. So what we used to do, which I think is part of the reason why we grew so quickly, is we wouldn't just say, growth stocks are high risk and blue chip stocks are low risk. Would be like, growth stocks are kind of like those, non-stable partners that you have, those quick flings that, might do really well and might last, and you might, have a good return on investment, or they might leave you a little bit burnt. And then you've got these blue chip stocks, which are kind of the partners your parents wish you'd marry, slow, steady, not really doing too much, maybe a little bit boring, but maybe the right thing for you.
Yeah.
And so it's just about finding ways to explain stuff that maybe Warren Buffett wouldn't have wanted to explain it. And so that's what we did. And so the book is very much the same. Like, there are Kardashian references, Hannah Montana references, the Jonas Brother references, as many pop culture references that I could fit into a stock market book. I did.
Oh my God, I love that. And I think it makes it so relatable, and it helps break it down so much. I know when we talk about risk levels, we use shoes. So we're like, low risk, you got your flats, and then as you get more risky, and then the ultimate high risk is kind of like stilettos. Like, if you can pull it off, it's going to be fantastic. Is a chance you might fall flat on your face.
That is the best risk analogy I've ever heard in my life.
And so what are your kind of biggest inspirations around, I guess in general in life, and who's inspired you to get to this point?
Do you know what? I think I have just taken inspiration, little bits from different people. I can't say there's like one person that I'm like, wow, they have, done everything I want to do. I think one of my biggest inspirations in this space is probably Sally Krawcheck. And for those that are like, who on earth is that, Sim? She's basically an ex-Wall Street analyst, fund manager. She was known to be fired publicly on the Wall Street Journal twice on the front page for the fact that she was just an honest a trader. So basically, like the GFC happened, everyone's investments were dropping. She wanted to inform their clients, hey, look, ethically XYZ, her company wasn't happy and they fired her. And so she's known as like the last honest Wall Street trader. And what I love about her is she kind of took that, instead of going, oh, I'm embarrassed, like I'm literally fired. It sucks being fired. We've all probably been fired or let go at one point. It doesn't feel good. Imagine having it on the front page of, I don't know, the Sydney Herald. That would be rough. But she turned it around and she started Allivest, which is a financial investing platform in the US. So unfortunately, we can't access it here in Australia. But so good, so like focused on female empowerment. And so I just love like taking a bad situation and turning it around. I just realized how nerdy that sounded.
I love Allivest. So totally, I love it. And they have really good articles as well on their blog. So if anyone's looking for more resources, definitely sign up for their newsletter and check out their articles. They've got great content.
100%. Do you have a cooler inspiration?
No, yours was cool. I love it. Mine's, well, I mean, like, again, like I take inspiration from kind of all around. I'm very, my sister is a big role model to me. She's an incredible writer, but also, went through this journey a couple of years ago of having cancer and going through remission, finding the best in it and writing a book about it that's helped thousands and thousands of people on their journey. And, looking at, how can we, bring in the fun and the humor, but also, it's just a really, she's just an amazing person. So having that constantly surrounded by me, and I live with my sister, is amazing. But as far as other inspirations go, I'm like obsessed with Reese Witherspoon, and I just love what she's done with her career and her empowering so many other women and bringing more women onto TV and telling real stories. And so, I mean, that's just my celebrity crush, but I'll call her a bit of an inspiration as well. And she's a kick-ass businesswoman.
Molly, has anyone told you that you kind of look like Reese Witherspoon?
I've had it a few times, and I'm always in pink. Everyone's like, a little bit like Elle Woods from Legally Blonde. I'm like, oh, thank you so much. No, but I am a big fan of hers, and has been mentioned on occasion.
No, you really do. It's amazing. Did you find that movie was like the kicks, like, the one Legally Blonde, did you find that it like kickstarted something in you in terms of like independence and kind of wanting to do things yourself? Because it seems like you've almost been like a trailblazer in this space with women and money. Do you feel like that's what did it for you, or was there something that like pushed you to be financially independent?
Well, I think what really pushed me, there was a couple of things, but I think one of the main things was kind of looking around at my beautiful friends and their mothers and looking at, oh my God, all their partners are leaving them, or they're unfortunately passing away, and they're left on their own, and they don't, quite a few of them, they didn't have financial independence, and that puts them in a very tricky situation. And I was like, I don't want that for any of my sisters. I don't want that for any of my friends. I don't want that for any woman. And that was like, and I was kind of like really shocked about those stats that came out, as well as around like one of the highest growing demographics in Australia. I'm not sure if it's the same in New Zealand. Going homeless is single women over the age of 55 in this country, which just was, for me, I was like, oh my God, like, how? And these women are smart and they are educated and they've worked their whole lives, but they're retiring into poverty. So that was a big motivator. And I think as well, another motivator was like, I always say, I'm my best client. I was so bad with money. I was working for a bank, and a lot of the women I was working with in financial services, because we weren't necessarily in, investing, we were in like marketing, risk, compliance. We had no clue what we were doing with our money. And, and it was the same all around. And that's how kind of like Ladies Finance Club literally started. I would run sessions in my living room with my girlfriends, would eat pizza, drink wine. There was always wine involved. And then would get like a friend in to come and talk to us about, about finance, and like they'd be like, this is what a savings account is, this is what a share is. And so many people then were like, oh my God, can I come to that finance night thing you do in your bed, like not in your bedroom, in your living room? And then we outgrew my living room very quickly, and then I ended up putting on actual events, and that's kind of where it all started. But I would love to know as well, where did Girls Invest, where was the brainchild of that? Where did that all start?
It's really interesting that you mentioned that it started like in your, not in your bedroom, but in your living room. It started in your, with your friends, because it was very similar with us. So a little bit of like our background, girls that invest. I noticed during, so we began in 2020, so actually quite recent. And I noticed in March 2020, the market dropped. And because I had like the privilege of financial literacy, I was able to have, had some good education around it and some good schooling. And I did a certificate in financial markets and went, wow, like this stuff is so interesting, but also so easy. So I was like, trotting along, enjoying life, investing. March 2020 hit and I was like, oh, this is great. Like, this is a good opportunity. Let me pour a little bit more money in on top of my dollar cost averaging. I'm very lucky, invested at the bottom of the market. No one actually knows when the bottom of the market hits. So that wasn't, skill, just, a little bit of education and a little bit of luck.
Yeah.
But then I saw everyone around me panicking in the news, telling them to worry about their super or their KiwiSaver, as we call it in New Zealand. And I was like, wait, no, this is not necessarily a bad thing. And the market's going to recover at some stage. Might be a month, might be a few years, but I can't imagine that this is a forever problem. And that was kind of my first step to go, well, let's start an Instagram account and a Facebook group just to pop some tips about the sort of, knowledge gap that people have. And then a few months into it, one of my best friends, she was at my house, actually in my bedroom. So ours started in the bedroom. And we were sitting on the floor of my bedroom talking about our goals with money. And this woman I had known since we were 5. So I've known her for a very long time. And we've talked about everything. Your best friend knows everything about you.
All the details.
The details I probably don't even want to know. And so it got to the point where I was like, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to buy a house one day. I know it's kind of crazy because I don't have financial help. I also don't have the money for a house yet, but this is my plan. And she was like, wow, that's so cool. Like, this is what I make. This is how much I've saved up. And I was like, what? Since when? Like, since when have you had all of that money? Like, you're my best friend.
Yeah.
And like, you've just been working away and saving this and investing it. And so that's when we realized if you don't have these conversations with your friends, you just miss out on so much knowledge. And we thought, hey, let's start a podcast where if we open up about what we do, we're going to encourage other, friends and family to do that within their own circles.
Oh, I love that. And yeah, it's so true. Like, we know the intimate details of like our friends' personal lives, but no idea what they're earning, no idea where they're investing, how much they have in savings. And even when I was just on holidays recently in beautiful New Zealand, my God, that country is so stunning. A couple of the girls were talking about how much they were earning, and I was shocked. I was like, wow, that's awesome. I had no idea. And in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I hope they're investing. Okay, let's kind of like, let's talk about it. Like, it was, it's like, it opens up a whole new area of conversation to be had. And it's definitely not something that we should shy away from or should be taboo. Like, come on, it's 2022.
Exactly. When it comes to like having those conversations, especially with maybe people that are like, hey, Molly, okay, fair enough, I should probably learn about this stuff, but like XYZ, what do you feel like those XYZs are? Like, what do you feel like those biggest misconceptions are, rather, that people come to you with, where you're just like, oh, read the book, like this explains it? Yeah,
well, a lot of misconceptions, I think the one we touched on is like, investing is hard and it's for really smart people, and I'm not a math brain, or I have no idea what I'm doing with my money. It's all a mess. So I think, and then I think there's that again, that misconception that it's going to be really hard and it's going to give you it's going to make you, you're going to have to be on a strict budget. You're going to have to restrict everything in your life. You're never going to be able to have fun again. But that's just so not the case. I actually find when you know what you're spending, it's a lot more freeing because you've got those, that, your money's working for you, and you don't have to feel guilty about, spending, because that is that money there that is for your spending. But there's so many misconceptions I hear. I'm too young, I'm too old. It's a bad time in the economy. What are some you hear regularly?
Honestly, I think the biggest, probably a little bit of everything you've mentioned, but the most common one we hear, and I guess the most common one that frustrates me, because I used to feel this way, is thinking that it's just you're just not smart enough for it. Yeah. And that one just gets to me, because at the end of the day, no one, including Warren Buffett, was born with a little manual in his hand that said, this is how the stock market works. This is how you invest. These are what you would look for in a company. These are all learnt skills. Some people might, again, be a little bit more privileged for whatever reason and be able to learn that earlier in life. Some people, like myself, learn it, I guess, still kind of young, but not through family help, just through, financial education. Other people learn it through their friends and family later down the track. But at the end of the day, everyone learns it, and everyone asks, wait, what's a stock? Wait, what's an ETF? Everyone goes, hey, that doesn't make sense. At one stage in his life, Warren Buffett said, what's the share market? Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I love that. That is such a good point. And I think, that's a really good, idea for anyone who is feeling so new to it. Just think, Warren Buffett didn't know what a stock was once. But a misconception, or not such a misconception, but something that kind of just makes me kind of shudder every time I hear it, though, is when they're like, my partner is just looking after the money. And that's one of my biggest things with Ladies Finance Club. And ladies, we are the only ones responsible for our money. We're the only ones who have to have our own back. So we can't be relying on our partners. And I remember speaking to a financial advisor in Australia, and she said, when it comes to confidence and competence, men and women, we're equally as competent. We've got the same skills. We can learn this stuff. But when it comes to confidence, guys rate a lot higher, because they're like, I'll do it. I get it. Oh, because I'm doing it, I get it more. And so then they end up taking over. But it's just still such a thing that I'm so passionate about. And I'm still hearing today too many women saying, oh, my partner looks after the money.
There was, funnily enough, a study by, Sally Krawcheck, who I was talking about earlier, and she did a study with her community. So this is American based, and they found that 98% of women who were widowed or had been divorced and were left to look after their finances, 98% of them said, oh my God, I am not happy with the money that has been left over. I thought it was going to be taken care of. And so 98% of them have one piece of advice for women, which is take a more active role in your finances. You do not want to be, down the track in a position where you just thought, he's the man, or my partner is just more smarter than me in this area. They'll take care of it. Because more often than not, they know as much as you do, and they're just trying their best. So it's always good to keep a hand in it. But Molly, I wanted to ask you one last question. If someone is okay, I could probably do with a little bit more of a cleanup in my finances, get a little bit more financially literate, where can we find you? Where is this book? I am so excited.
Yeah, so the book is coming out early next year, so around February, which is exciting. It's called Girls Just Want to Have Funds, which is the name of all our investing events in Australia. And we're also on the gram, and we have a Facebook group as well, Ladies Finance Club Money Chat. What about yourself? Where can we find you? And I'm assuming obviously your book would be on booktopia.com.au, but where else can we find the wonderful podcast and other things that you're working on?
Yeah, so very much the same, Girls That Invest. We're on social media, Instagram, podcasts. And if you're okay, I'm ready to invest, I'm going to dive in, I'm going to buy the book, head over to Booktopia. I'm sure we'll have a little link in the description. It is available now. So if you want to get started and get your friends and family started, get yourself a couple of books. We've had a few people just buy 6 and go, that's my Christmas shopping done.
Love that. It's been so delightful to finally connect and have this conversation. And I'm so excited about Girls Invest and all the wonderful things, you guys have got on the agenda, and wishing you all the success.
Thank you. As with you, I can't wait for people to just be like, you know what, 2023, new year, new me, let's get the book.
Love that.